And we'll start with breaking news happening now. Honolulu firefighters are at the scene of a 2-alarm building fire in Aiea. This is at the Lelepono condo, which is just near Pearl Ridge. As you can see from the images sent to our newsroom, the blaze is very high up. You can see the smoke billowing out. Multiple companies are at the scene, and we can expect the tower will be evacuated. We have a crew on the way right now, and we'll keep you updated as we get more information. Again, a 2-alarm building fire in Aiea. Stay with us right here and on our website for any new details.
Yeah, we'll continue to track that, but for now we have even more breaking news coming into the H&N Digital Center.
That's right, a verdict reached in a high-profile murder case after less than a day of deliberations. A jury has found Stephen Brown guilty of murder and kidnapping. Let's take you inside the courtroom as the verdict was being read.
State of Hawaii versus Stephen Brown. We, the jury of this case, find the defendant Stephen Brown in count 1, guilty as charged of murder in the 2nd degree. In count 2, guilty as charged of kidnapping. In count 3, guilty as charged of kidnapping. In count 4, guilty as charged of burglary in the 1st degree.
You heard it there. Brown convicted in the gruesome 2017 killing of Thelma Boinville at a North Shore vacation rental. Brown found guilty of murder, 2 counts of kidnapping, and burglary. While the verdict was being read, Brown showed no emotion and just stared down. Now, prosecutors argued in court that Boinville walked in on Brown and Haley Dandaran, his girlfriend at the time, while they were burglarizing the home. Brown tied Boinville up, and she was brutally killed with a machete and other weapons. The defense argued Dandaran was responsible for the killing, and Brown stepped out of the home after Boinville was tied up. Prosecutors said Brown was the only one, quote, physically powerful enough to subdue Thelma Boinville, adding that he also made a critical admission to Boinville's then 8-year-old daughter, who was at the property, that they killed her mother. The jury will return Monday to begin discussing sentencing in the case. Brown faces an extended sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole. Much more on this story on our website and on air on later editions of Hawaii News Now.
Yeah, we'll keep on that breaking news for just a moment. We got a live picture coming into our H&N newsroom pointed towards Aiea, where we were seeing that structure fire just a short time ago. But right now, from this vantage point at least, we are not seeing that at the moment. We will continue to follow this still very much breaking story here at H&N, and it will bring you the latest as soon as we get it. But for now, we got to talk about another developing situation that's unfolding, that high surf. Let's get the first alert from Guy Hoggy.
There's a swell. It's already hitting. It is firing up in the country right now, but it's also big. Remember, there's a high surf advisory on. But a high surf advisory will become a high surf warning by tomorrow night. This is the eddy swell. It's big, it's dangerous. It'll be lapping up onto the roads as well. There's going to be some issues there because we got an extremely high tide because of the new moon. And then by Sunday afternoon, the swell will be in full swing. But keep in mind, there's another big swell on the way by Wednesday. So the ocean's going to be a dangerous place for the next several days. But heads up, the eddy is on for Sunday.
Yeah, Guy, thanks for that first alert. And as you just mentioned, those massive waves are going to be bringing some massive crowds in for the eddy there on Oahu's North Shore. Let's get an update of what you need to know if you're planning to attend. Here's Casey Lund.
The swell is coming in and conditions are looking perfect. The stage is set for the 10th running of the eddy. One thing's for certain, in a couple of days, this beach will look absolutely nothing like it does right now.
Somewhere in the ballpark between probably 30 or 40,000 people to attend this ceremony.
The city says they've been working with the Aikau family to make sure that this park is ready to host the tens of thousands of spectators that are coming here on Sunday.
If you do come up here, we are going to be operating some extended bus services as well, starting at 4:30 from Ala Moana Mall, coming up here to Waimea Bay. There's going to be 4 extra buses coming up straight here to Waimea Bay Beach Park, starting from 4:30 every 30 minutes. And then there's going to be a shuttle service from Weed Circle over here as well, too.
This morning, we also talked to big wave surfer Jamie Mitchell. This is his second eddy. He says he's a little anxious, but he's ready.
The excitement is and the anxiety, starts to keep building and building. Especially after we had the little fake go at the start, but now that we're going to get a real go on Sunday, it's It's unbelievable. It really is the greatest show on earth.
Makani Adric is also surfing on Sunday. This will be her first Eddie. She says she's been training and she's honored to be a part of the contest.
Just hearing my name and the event being called on this year was a surprise. It is a big wave surf contest, but it's also held in memory of Eddie Aikau. And so I think they run this event to kind of keep his legacy alive and to bring all the big wave surfers from around the world together as a community and family and kind of share the whole experience.
And it's like our Super Bowl. You know, you walk down the beach, you can feel the energy, the thousands of people screaming. They see a set coming and see a surfer go to take off. It's just, and you can hear that and feel that energy when you're out in the lineup. So it's it gives me chicken skin talking about it, but it is the greatest show on surf.
A reminder, this is one of the world's premier surf contests, but it's also a memorial for the Aikau family and a really special event for so many people in Hawaii's surfing community. A reminder to take care of each other and this beach park. Reporting at Waimea Bay, I'm Casey Lund. For now, we'll send things back to you.
Thank you, Casey, for that update. Got to take you live back out to Aiea right now. We have a new live picture just into our newsroom. This is coming in right now. Photographer on the scene of that high-rise fire, and this is what we're seeing at this very moment. You see scorched building there, about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 floors from the top of this high-rise structure. I'm being told this is Lele Pono condo. You can see quite a bit of damage there, at least to that one unit. Firefighters are going to have to assess what exactly the extent of the damage is. You can see the obvious scorch right there on the foreground and the front of this picture, but if you look over towards the balcony side as well, you can see a lot of smoke damage there as well in this live picture. Again, our crew is on the scene. This first came in a short time ago in the last hour as a 2-alarm building fire, again at Lele Pono condo near Pearl Ridge. We will stay on top of this story, bring you the very latest news as it comes into our newsroom. But for now, we want to get back to that surf coverage, and here is Mark Carpenter with more on that.
Among the big wave surfers pumped for this weekend is Landon McNamara of the legendary McNamara Ohana. We caught up with him as he gets ready for the Eddie. We are less than 48 hours away from the big moment. How would you describe all the emotions of everything involved right now?
It's basically just a roller coaster ride. I mean, I'm not really going to believe it till I'm paddling out the morning on because anything can happen, but God willing, the Sunday morning it's supposed to run. That's our church out there, so it's going to be a good day and many blessings, I believe.
What is the process like for you? I mean, to prepare for something like this, and, you know, speaking with some of your big wave colleagues, it's like, you know, to prepare for, you can't really simulate an arena like this because the only time you're going to have massive waves like this at Waimea is when the contest is going on. So how do you prepare? What is your process for all of this?
I was actually just talking about this last night. Yeah. I mean, usually if the waves are big enough for the Eddie Aikau is running, so there's not a lot of practice days you're able to get in out there. But I mean, through the last 10, 15 years, I put in a lot of time out there, and I try to get out there every big swell that's good enough conditions to go ride. And I just try and see what boards work the best, dial in all my equipment. And I mean, leading up to the few last days until the competition, I just had my last session, and I'm going to just take it easy, cruise with the family until the morning of, because it's going to be a big day and good to get a little rest in. And my equipment's dialed in. I feel good and healthy, so I'm just waiting for that morning.
When Waimea is pumping, is there any wave anywhere in the world that it compares to?
I mean, every wave has its own specialty, but it's something about just the whole essence of surfing Waimea, from the valley all the way out to the ocean. It's just a different type of energy that you don't seem to feel at a lot of other places. You feel a lot of mana inside of, I don't know, it's something different. It's a beautiful feeling when you're out there, and it doesn't matter who's out in the water with you. It's always you in the ocean. It seems like because it gets packed. There'll be 100 people out there, but still, yet it just feels like you're in the ocean when you're in the zone.
And I just wanted to confirm, this will be your first Eddie, right?
It's well, yeah. I've been invited the last 2 years, but I've never been able to surf it because it only runs if it gets a certain size, and it doesn't get that big every year. And it's looking like it's on now. So I mean, I've dreamed of this moment since elementary school. I've watched a few Eddies live myself from the beach, and I was just always in awe. It's the best show on earth. I mean, it's incredible. I'd recommend not driving and getting a bike because it's gonna be a lot of people. I think their guesstimation was around 40,000 attendees or something like that. So get there early, find a spot, and just enjoy the show.
Exactly. Don't waste time in traffic. Finally, I mean, you have alluded to this, but I mean, just knowing everything that's involved, knowing, your family, knowing the history of the sport, knowing the place surfing holds in Hawaii's culture. What does this opportunity mean to you?
This opportunity, I mean, it's something I've waited for, like I said, for many, many years. And at the end of the day, what I try to focus back in on is who it's in memory of and the person that it's in memory of, which is Eddie Aikau, and try and channel that energy and try to it's not about winning or losing out there for me. I'm gonna go out there and try to catch the biggest wave I can, but at the end of the day, I'm just honored to surf against and amongst my heroes and friends, and in honor of such a legendary person such as Eddie Aikau.
Beautifully said. And, we're wishing you the best of luck. And, you summed it up. I think a lot of the overarching sentiment through all of this, that it's not about winning. It's about understanding the significance of this moment, enjoying it, and really taking it all in. So thank you very much for taking the time to talk with us.
No worries. Anytime. And I'll see all you guys down there during the contest. So come see what's up.
Well, so much happening in D.C. this week with the debt ceiling negotiations and the classified document investigation. Covering it all is Hawaii News Now White House correspondent John Decker. John, thank you so much for joining us. We'll get to those issues in a bit, but first I want to start with this. Thousands of people in D.C. Descended on the city today for the March for Life rally. There was also an event that happened here on Oahu. We want to mention that as well. Now, this was the first year since the overturning of Roe v. Wade. What were the scenes like out there?
It was a celebration more than anything else. Keep in mind, this is the first March for Life that's happening here in Washington, D.C. since that landmark decision by the U.S. Supreme Court in late June of last year, which overturned the landmark decision of Roe versus Wade, and now has sent that issue back to the states. So that drew hundreds of thousands of people here to Washington, D.C. today to celebrate that decision by the U.S. Supreme Court. But they realize, organizers do, that their battle is not over. They realize the fight now is in Congress and in state houses all across the country. That's one of the reasons, by the way, Mark, they changed the route of their march past the U.S. Capitol to signify that there's a new battle in their fight to prohibit abortion procedures from happening anywhere in this country.
Now, abortion rights activists are also in town for the National Women's March on Sunday, and that would be the 50th anniversary of the Roe v. Wade decision. What are you expecting?
Well, that's right. That too has some significance given the fact of what happened in late June of last year at the U.S. Supreme Court. Vice President Kamala Harris will be making a speech down in Florida. It was just last year that Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed a bill which prohibits abortion in Florida after 15 weeks. And so I think that her remarks will be geared towards what they believe is something that energizes Democratic voters. And they point to what happened in the midterm elections as evidence of that. They believe that the overturning of Roe versus Wade energized Democratic voters, in particular in the midterms, which allowed Democrats to hold on to the U.S. Senate.
And looking at financial business in Washington, today the Pentagon announced a new $2.5 billion security package for Ukraine. What is in this deal?
Well, it's important to talk about not only what is in the deal, but what is not in this deal. $2.5 billion additional arms shipment to Ukraine. This includes a significant number, dozens, I think it's 59 Bradley fighting vehicles. In addition to that, 90 Stryker combat vehicles. But what's not in there? Tanks. And that's something that President Zelensky has been asking for, not only from the U.S., but all of our NATO allies for quite some time. The U.S. says it does not want to convey to Ukraine those M1 Abrams tanks, very sophisticated weaponry, because of the logistics in terms of maintaining them during the course of the time that they would be in Ukraine. So that's not happening right now. And in the meantime, there's a real push to have Germany provide tanks to the Ukraine military to help out in what they expect to be a big offensive by Russia in the spring.
And finally, something many are keeping a very close eye on right now is the classified document investigation. Now, you were traveling with the president yesterday. He seemed irritated when asked by reporters about the documents, and you also asked the White House deputy press secretary about this. What can you tell us from what you've been seeing here?
Well, that's right. Aboard Air Force One on the flight out to California yesterday, I asked the deputy White House press secretary whether or not the White House would cooperate with the parallel investigation into this matter that's being conducted by the House Oversight Committee. And I think that her answer was very telling and also newsworthy. She did not commit to cooperating with the House Oversight Committee. I gave her many times to confirm that there would be cooperation with this Oversight Committee in Congress. But instead, she pointed to the White House counsel's office in terms of answering that particular question. I think the reason why President Biden was a little bit perturbed by a question that was asked of him yesterday during the course of his event, in which he was looking at all the storm damage associated with the recent flooding in California, was because the question had nothing to do with his visit. He traveled all the way across the country to California to see the storm damage for himself. And, instead, the question was about the classified documents. But I think one of the reasons why that was the case, Mark, is because he hasn't been answering those questions here in Washington. And so the press corps, following out to California, saw this as a good opportunity to get some answers from him at that time.
Yeah, very touchy subject that we'll all be keeping an eye on. John Decker, Hawaii News Now White House correspondent. Have an excellent weekend, John. Thank you very much.
All right, we got to get to our breaking news of the hour, taking you back out live to the Aiea area. This is that shot of the condo tower. We just got some important updates from fire officials. Mark has that information for us.
Yeah, we've been tracking this blaze all show long, keeping a close eye on what is unfolding. So this is at the Lelepono condo in Aiea. You see that high rise right there. More details, more official details from HFD. So the blaze was reported at 11:26 a.m. 2-alarm fire. 10 HFD units responded with about 38 personnel. This is centered on the 29th floor, really the area of concentration for activity. When crews arrived, they immediately attacked the area and got it under control rather quickly, just considering how high it is. HFD with a swift and definitive response, but we're hearing from HFD that crews found one unresponsive person in the unit where the fire started. HFD has alerted emergency medical services and the office of the Honolulu Medical Examiner. So the key detail right there from HFD: 2-alarm fire, one person found unresponsive, but the blaze is under control right now.
And just to give you a closer idea of what we're seeing here for our podcast listeners, again, this is the Aiea area. We're looking at that scorched apartment there. A number of windows have been busted out. You can sort of see it in this vantage point as well. That balcony also still has some smoke billowing out of it at this very moment, but they are saying that fire under control, as Mark just mentioned. I want to take us back in time, if you bear with me here for just one moment. We are going to pull up what the scene looked like just a short time ago. We're talking in the last few hours. This is what everyone was seeing. This is what was being sent to our newsroom from our viewers. A very, very eerie sight there in the Aiea Aiea area as that fire was fully engulfed. But again, Mark had those details. One person found unresponsive just a short time ago. We are going to stay on top of this still very much breaking story, bringing you the very latest as details come in. But for now, let's get to today's talker story. Timing. Is it really everything? Well, maybe not when it comes to dieting. That's why we're bringing in Karen Cava with the result of a new study that was just published in the Journal of American Heart Association that suggests that the timing of meals may not be a big impact on dieting. Karen, what's up?
Yeah, well, Jonathan, you may have heard of intermittent fasting, the idea of limiting the timing or the windows where you eat throughout the day. It's become very popular as a weight loss method, especially for those who struggle with things like late night snacking, for instance. But a new study looked at the effectiveness of the technique and found it may not work for everyone. A new study making headlines suggests a popular weight loss method may not be as effective as once thought. The study, published in the Journal of the American Heart Association, tracked the portion sizes and eating times of 547 people and data on their health and weight for 6 years. Researchers found no association between restricting eating times, like the trend of intermittent fasting, and weight loss. What the study did find effective: smaller meals. Julia Zampano, registered dietitian with the Cleveland Clinic Center for Human Nutrition, is among experts who caution the sample size of the study was small and the participants not as diverse as the larger population. She sees some benefits in limiting the timing of meals.
Intermittent fasting can decrease the amount of insulin that you produce, so it can lead to reduction in fat storage. Fasting can also help lower blood triglycerides, blood sugar. In certain cases, it can lower blood pressure and cholesterol.
Whether narrowing meal times or counting calories, Zampano says it's important to find an approach that's realistic for you.
No one likes to be told, you cannot eat, you cannot do this. So just being able to set boundaries on when you can and cannot do things can really help you attain those goals.
The U.S. Dietary Guidelines for Americans recommends focusing 85% of your food on nourishment and the rest for a little enjoyment and indulgence. And Zampano also said that we tend to get very routinized when it comes to our eating. For example, you wake up in the morning and you eat breakfast at 7 a.m. every single day, whether you are hungry or not. She said you should pay a little bit more attention to your hunger cues. You may not need as many calories as you think you might want. Jonathan?
All right, we want to take you live back out to our breaking news. Thank you very much, Karen, for that report. Again, this is that live picture from the Aiea area. We just got some very important updates into our newsroom. We want to recap that.
Yeah, 2-alarm building fire. Call came in at 11:26. Firefighters responded 5 minutes later, got it under control rather quickly. So about 10 HFD units, 38 personnel. And just looking at the video, you can see it's high up. HFD says this was on the 29th floor. So it really just speaks to the skill of HFD to get up there quickly, tackle it, get it under control. And, the fresh live video of the blaze shows that there is no longer smoke, but we are hearing one person found unresponsive inside one of the units. That's been reported to emergency medical services, and the Honolulu medical examiner has also been contacted. So we'll have the latest on this online and on air with First at 4.
Yeah, and keep checking those H&N digital platforms for all these developing stories updates throughout your afternoon. Have a good one.